Okay, let's dive right in. When we think about power, we usually picture something loud, something assertive, something direct. But today, we're going to explore a totally different kind of power. It's quiet, it's untouchable, and it is profoundly disruptive. We're talking about the strategic power of silence.
This right here, this is the core idea we're going to unpack. In certain dynamics, especially the manipulative ones, the very act of engaging, arguing with them, explaining yourself, defending your position, that's actually a loss. True power, as this suggests, knows that sometimes the most powerful move is to make no move at all. It's not about giving up. It's about refusing to play a game that's rigged from the start. And that withdrawal creates this exact state. When you disengage, you're literally pulling yourself out of the line of fire. Your peace of mind, your logic, your emotional state, none of it can be attacked anymore because you've taken it completely off the battlefield. You become, for all intents and purposes, untouchable.
Now, this is what's so fascinating. Think about it. Your emotional reactions, even anger, even frustration, are a kind of validation. They're fuel. It confirms to the other person, yes, I have an effect on you. But silence offers them absolutely nothing. It's a void, a vacuum where they expected a reaction, and that void is what becomes so terrifying to them.
So to really get why silence is so incredibly effective, we have to look under the hood. We've got to understand the game that's actually being played. Because it's not about the topic you think you're arguing about. Oh no. It's a much more subtle, often unconscious battle for psychological resources. And that resource, that fuel, is called emotional supply. This can be anything: your attention, your arguments, your validation, even your tears or your anger. It honestly doesn't matter if the reaction is positive or negative. What matters to them is that there is a reaction, because any reaction at all proves that they still have influence and control over you. Let's just break this down. Take a look at this chart. When you argue, what are you really doing? You're accepting their premise, you're agreeing their point is even worth debating. And when you defend yourself, well, you've just walked right into their arena, and now you're playing by their rules. Any reaction, big or small, just signals to them that they still have power over your emotional state.
So here is the absolute game changer. Silence isn't just about not talking. It's about dismantling the entire stage. A performance needs an audience, right? By refusing to be that audience, by refusing to give any reaction, the entire manipulative structure just loses its foundation. It simply collapses. And this brings us to the strategy behind it all, the unreadable response. So what is actually happening on a psychological level when you decide to go silent? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a strategic absence that achieves three really powerful things all at once. First, you immediately cut off that emotional supply we were just talking about. You're starving them of the fuel they absolutely need. Second, you shatter their sense of predictability. Manipulative people rely on knowing how you'll react. When you don't, their entire script becomes useless. And third, and this is so crucial, with no external drama focus on, they are forced to turn inward. They have to face themselves. And this is the key. Their whole sense of control is built on being able to predict and provoke you. So when you become a blank slate, completely unreadable, you take away their ability to control you. It's that simple. Your unpredictability just shatters their entire reality. Now, you have to be prepared. When you first use silence, the result isn't always immediate peace and quiet. In fact, there's often a very predictable and sometimes escalating reaction as the other person scrambles to get that control back. It usually follows this kind of pattern. First, you're silent. Then you can expect the test. It might be a casual text, a joke, a little provocation, anything designed to see if you'll take the bait. If you stay silent, the pressure will probably increase. They'll try harder. And this leads to a fork in the road. They'll either escalate dramatically or they'll retreat. Either way, it's a huge sign that their whole structure of control is cracking. And this brings us to the most amazing moment, the power reversal. The instant you stop feeling that desperate need to explain or defend yourself, the entire dynamic just flips. The focus is no longer on you at all. All of a sudden, the questions they're asking aren't directed at you anymore. They're directed at themselves. Their internal monologue completely shifts. They're thinking, wait, why isn't this working? They're faced with a strategy that isn't in their playbook, and their first response is just pure confusion. And that confusion then starts to turn into this deeper unease. Without your reactions to prop them up and validate their importance, That psychological spotlight has nowhere else to turn but inward. They're left alone with their own feelings, which is the very thing they create all this external drama to avoid. So let's just reframe this once and for all. Silence, in this context, is not weakness. It is not passive. It's not giving in. It is an active, conscious, and powerful strategic choice. It's the decision to disengage from a game that you were never going to win by playing their way. So let's wrap this all up. What is the single most important thing to take away from this entire dynamic? What's the ultimate path to getting your power back? Look, you're not going to break them with rage. That just feeds them. You are not going to defeat them with better arguments. That just validates their game. The only way you actually win is to refuse to fight. You end the game by simply walking off the field. And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. In these very specific dynamics, true control, true dominance is not found in what you do, but in what you refuse to do. Mastering the art of strategic absence means you master the situation, you master your own peace, and ultimately, you master the entire power dynamic.